Imagine you and your lover are caught up in a conspiracy that spans thousands of years. Your souls seem to be bound together by some mysterious force. And no matter how hard you try, you can't escape this fate. But just when you think you can finally live a peaceful life, a mysterious witch appears. She claims to be your ally, but her actions raise doubts. Is she really here to save you? Or does she just want to use you to achieve her goals? And what about that dark creature that's been following you? What's its story? 17.5 painting. Naya and Ocean Red Mount 1990. Ocean's confident stride led our group through the eerie maze, his leadership evident in every step. True to his dramatic nature, Cal didn't contain his fear. Dude. Screaming walls. He frantically banged the concrete beside him. Disappearing corridors. His finger trembled as he pointed behind us. And. His eyes darted around wildly. Everything is fucking weird. Arms flailing. He whimpered. Ocean. I'm scared. In a flash, he cowered behind Ocean, clinging to him like a terrified child. Ocean chuckled, his amusement barely concealing his annoyance. Get the fuck off me, he said, trying to shake off Aya's grip. Just as we began to relax, an ominous creak shattered the silence. Our heads snapped towards the sound. Lee, ever observant, exclaimed, "What the hell is that?" A half-open rectangular door materialized in the distance, golden light flickering invitingly from within. His curiosity piqued. Asked, "You think that's the way out?" I glanced at Ocean, drawn to his leadership even in this bizarre situation. "That's the only way I think," I replied, silently seeking his guidance. Let's go. Ocean commanded, and we followed without hesitation. Our footsteps echoed as we jogged towards the door, hope rising with each step. Just before we reached it, Ocean turned to me, his eyes intense. "Did you know it would stop before you kissed me?" My heart raced as I confessed. "No, I just did it when you said you had to get me out of here." "But did you feel it?" He pressed. "I mean the electricity, yes," I admitted, watching pride and desire ignite in his eyes. Isaiah, still battling his fears, suddenly pushed Ocean forward. "I'm not going in first," he declared, causing Ocean to stumble inside. As we entered, a collective woe escaped our lips, the sheer size of the room leaving us in awe. The room was massive with authentic mahogany furniture. Size bed with maroon bed sheets and pillows was situated right in the middle of the room. Hand-carved wooden frame the hires and maroon silk curtains hung down its sides, tied by a large golden and tassel-led rope. Right next to us, laid a long chaise lounge with couple of anorganous maroon satin cushions scattered on it. "What is this place?" Lee wondered out loud. Suddenly, images of this room flashed before my eyes. However, they did not look as gloomy and uncanny as it looked right in real life. Everything looked inorganous and dusty yet elegant. Pure wooden table and 4 chairs with visible grain across it situated on the left side of the room. On the right in was the large tainted windows. They looked almost black with the soot marks from the open fireplace, but I managed to make out only graved and far into woods. Dull sunlight streamed through the square piece of glasses, creating blurry visible rays of light rested on gray concrete floor, highlighting the specks of dust particles floating around us. Craning my neck up, I spotted a large worn-out candlelit chandelier hanging from the high ceiling above. Other essential candle holders were attached to the concrete walls around us, illuminating the whole room. "Oh my God," Lee exclaimed from far left. It took me a while to grasp the fact that shit already started moving around the whole room, exploring and harvesting any clues that might get us out of here. "What?" Warily, I made my way towards her and finally caught the glimpse of what had her jaws against the floor. A huge, dust-covered painting hung slanted on the wall right opposite the bed. My mind physically couldn't comprehend what my eyes were gaping at for a moment. "Is that?" She trailed off, pointing at the old painting in front of me. "Shit. I exclaimed, covering his mouth with his hand. The boys finally caught up with us, and when Ocean's eyes landed on the painting, I automatically felt his heart stop for a millisecond. I probably mirrored the bewildered gaze he held in his eyes. That can't be. I breathed out, feeling Ocean's chest lean against my back with his hands resting my hips. Although the painting was covered in a thick bulk of dust and cobwebs, the faces were still clear enough for anyone to realize they were identical images of me and Ocean. The faces in the painting looked quite a bit older than. They sat elegantly on the thrones we encountered when we first entered the castle were. The man in the painting wore a long golden robe with navy undertones and excessive jewels. He had a golden crown with emeralds and rubies splattered all over it in orderly manner. He sat tall with a puffed-up chest. Pride oozed of his body language. Right beside him sat a woman, with long dark locks cascading down to her lap with gray glimmering eyes. A golden tight corset dress hugged her figure, perfectly highlighting her cleavage, and a beautiful golden feminine and crown rested on her head, with a large emerald stone in the middle surrounded by smaller ruby stones. They looked exactly like us. The resemblance was somewhat hard to digest. This is unrealistic. Lee broke the suffocating silence after what felt like eternity. How is it even possible? Jace pushed forward to examine the painting thoroughly. You okay, baby girl? The uncertainty in Ocean's voice scared me because he was my rock, and if he crumbled, I for sure would go down with him. It's just, what is this? I stepped closer to the painting. They look exactly like us. I pointed out again. I don't know. I heard him sigh. I brushed my finger across linen and canvas, gathering up excess dust and stuff cobwebs underneath the tip of my finger. Look. Lee pointed to the shelves below. Coughing, she dusted the thick blanket of webs and dust off the brown leather cover book. This is old. She coughed again. What does it say? The three boys simultaneously got around Lee, peeking over her shoulders to get a glimpse of what was written in the book. He seemed a lot calmer than me. The handwriting is very cursive. Lee squinted, brushing her fingers along the thick, bulky paper. Look, it says Naya and Ocean over here. She pointed somewhere along the middle of the page. Wait, so you two had the same name back then? Isa's question made my heart jolt in fear of the unknown. We don't know if they are. Us or not. Ocean quickly retorted back in defense. Guys. Lee Ray gathered out attention towards the book, which looked more like a journal. Vampire Deception by Drake Mason and E.Y. Gwent. As the undocumented changeling, I'm forced to cove as a low-level witch. These are centuries apart, she exclaimed, flicking through the journal quickly. What do you mean? I asked, stopping from nearly destroying the only answer we have of getting out. Look at the dates. The first one was in the 1st century. Supernatural creature believed that in the 1st century, we were created, whereas humans believed that they evolved over time. It says, First Ocean tade us, King of Tizcan and Naya tade us, Queen of Tizcan, buried alive. My heart nearly flew out of my chest, and Ocean's grip on my hip tightened painfully. The grave tomb. Wait, there's more. She carried on with a horrific determination. 5th century. As YUT. Anubis and NEA. That's not our names. I exclaimed. Different country. She paused. Again. 11th Corps in Maso Ryan and NEA. Deafening silence took over the wary atmosphere as the sound. Is this a joke? Before one could answer him, suddenly a door popped open, which was cleverly hidden beside the bed as it blended in perfectly with the cracks on the walls, uncover a familiar silhouette that stood at the entrance of the mysterious door. 18 Witches Naya's P. O.V. read Mount 1990 Elina. I whispered in disbelief. She slowly walked out of the shadows with a warm smile on her face. Her posture was strong and straight, like my mother looked when she went away for her business trips. Oh, Naya. She put a hand on her heart with watery eyes. IVE looked for you for so long time. Finally. She chimed, walking towards me with embracing arms. Who the hell are you? Ocean quickly stepped in front of me, stopping her in mid-stride. Instead of being annoyed, her smile grew. flashing her perfect pearl-white teeth. "Oh, my dear Ocean. I never get bored of seeing how protective you are of her." She clasped her hands together and brought it close to her chest. "Who are you?" "Oh, honey. I know you don't remember me. I mean, how could you? It's not like I met you in this life." She babbled on, getting my heart racing again. "Let me introduce myself properly. I am Elina Montgomery and Dimify. I met you during the World War in the last century." She beamed. "Afai?" I asked, gabbing onto Ocean's arm. "Yes, just like you're bound to Earth. My element is air." She sighed before continuing. "I have been around since the beginning of it in your last life. I met you guys just when you were on the run. We became really good friends." She looked at Ocean. "Wait, what?" Ocean asked again, not fully processing what just happened. "How do you even know us? What is all this?" She sighed sadly before explaining. "You see, you were running from a hunter called the Darkling, and I found you guys near my home. Naya was wounded, and when I saw the silver I knew you were werewolves. Supernatural always helps each other, so I took you in. You guys stayed with me for a while until he closed in on you. Not to mention the war had spread to my city. I helped you run and never saw you after that." She got emotional then. "Oh, come on. What nonsense. That's ridiculous." I was outraged. I wanted to get the hell out. "She's not lying." Lee held the worn-out book close to her face. 19th century. Western Hemisphere. Ashworth. That's the last entry. Well, that's my notebook. Thanks for confirming that." She smiled. "When you guys disappeared and the Darkling did too. At first I thought he was after werewolves, but there were a lot of werewolves in Ashworth, but he wasn't after any of them but you two. I let it go because I didn't know what was really happening until I moved because of my immortality. That's when I came across an ancient painting of you of." She pointed at me. "In Verdi CCI. It couldn't have been because it was painted centuries ago." She looked sad. "What does that have to do with us?" Ocean asked. "The painter was called Lorenzo. So I asked around and finally managed to obtain an image of the famous painter and his muse." She pointed towards the back table covers and scrolls. Lee quickly opened one and stretched out the cloth to reveal another painting of me and Ocean in Renaissance garment. I couldn't believe it. So I searched for as long as I could. I needed to know what was happening even though it had nothing to do with me. I'm immortal. I need something to do. Right. She was way too invested in us and that didn't sit well with me. "I tracked you guys here how?" Lee asked. "Sore rents, witches." She answered instantly. "Their ancestors were from Tiscan. During the massacre, nearly all witches lost their lives, but some escaped. They passed down their history, and when I heard the king and the queen were called Ocean and Naya, I had to come here. So this Darkling, where is he?" "He disappeared when you guys did. I haven't seen him since. I've been trying to gather as much information as I could on you guys. I've jotted down 6 lists that I can't race you guys to, either by name or picture. There might be more, but I honestly don't know." "Why bring us here?" I asked. "It all started here. You guys gave the order to have the hybrids killed. They nearly killed one people, and I believe the Darkling is the one who survived, but his beloved died. The legend I told you downstairs. It's true. Only difference is that the king and queen, they were you, and the curse was a curse. After the Darkling survived, the witches put a spell on Tower. Tailmasims around the vicinity. A powerful magic that nearly drained out a lot of witches. Hence, a lot of them cowed and protect themselves. Usually Tailmasims lost their power over time, but not this one. The witches that exist today don't even have the spell for such strong magic, because the Darkling cowed and get inside. He caused an upraise against the supernatural with the help of humans. Are you trying to tell me we caused the obliteration of millions of supernatural creatures?" "No, the Darkling did." She moved to where the painting was and picked up another scroll. "Every supernatural race has their own story. They all originate from Tiscan, and if you put them together it makes perfect sense. The Darkling is behind everything because she is a hybrid." I stepped back, sagging in understanding. I didn't believe her one, but we all knew about hybrids. We knew that a hybrid brought about the destruction of our kind. The spirits had warned us about them before they stopped talking to us. Hybrids had the power of both supernatural parent, and the more they used, the more euphoria they experienced. They were psychopaths with unnatural powers. Not only did they enjoy killing. He was after us. You guys have to go back now, but I want to explain more. Here, Elina took us down the spiral stairway that led to a set of double doors. This will lead you out towards your buses. She lifted off the log that held the doors together and gave us a comforting smile. What's with all the screaming? Lee asked. None of us bought what she was talking about. We all just wanted to get out. The witches being burnt alive. Their souls still haunt these walls. They won't hurt you. They will only lock away the humans. There was a wicked gleam in her eyes. Isa and Jace were the first run out the doors, followed by Ocean, pulling me along with him. Wait. I have more questions. Lee stated, still waiting inside with Elina. Elina handed Lee a card that she pulled out of her purse. Call me, call me. So we can talk about this, but right now you have to go. She walked out with Lee and pointed towards the crowd walking towards the buses. Ocean stormed away into the woods. My eyes landed on the place where I imagined the grave tomb. It was just an empty space. I'm going to do something. I'll see you later. Lee nervously shifted from foot to foot, turning around and walking towards the last bus that people were getting onto. I'll come with you. I started walking, only to have her stop me. No, it's fine. I'm gonna go in that bus. See you later. I knew she didn't personally know anyone in that herd of people because most of them were humans, however. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. What's up with her? I wondered. Maybe everything that just happened was too much to handle. Days reasoned, making me internally hate myself. It's not your fault. I'm here. Don't worry. He smiled softly, patting my back awkwardly before shoving his hands back in his jacket pocket. I don't understand. Ouch. I exclaimed, clenching my right fist, feeling like someone dropped a hammer on it with full force. Fuck. I clenched and unclenched my hand, staring at the knuckles to see any bruises. But when I saw there weren't any physical marks there, I realized it was Ocean, probably punching an innocent tree. What? Jace quickly took my hand and kept alternating from my palm to the back of my hand, trying to examine the cause of my sudden outburst. Nothing, I replied, shaking out my hand. Oh, that. He chuckled. What do you mean by... I asked curiously. You know, you feel anything that he feels and vice versa. He smiled cheekily. How did you know? I asked, trying to not show my embarrassment. Oh, HES never told you then? He asked after sobering up. No, tell me what? I asked, stepping in front of him. He knew I wasn't going to have a no for an answer, so he sighed heavily before starting. When you shifted for the first time, he obviously felt it. We were in the combat room and he was squirming like his body was on fire, and soon he started screaming like he was shifting. I shifted before you so I could tell what was happening to his body. But physically nothing was breaking. Like he was physically in pain, but nothing was happening to him. Then after a while we heard your howl and he lost it. He nearly stormed in there and rescued you, but I had to stop him. He paused before looking at me intently. He loved you since we were little, you know. He could never see you in pain. I know. I sighed. Why don't you go look for him? Jace asked. He needs some space. I don't want to suffocate him. He'll come to me when HE's ready. I smiled, turning sideways to find Ocean walking out of the forest with his fists clenched. Do you believe anything she said? Jace asked. Nope. Not even a little. I just wanted to go home and sleep. 18.5 Passion. The journey back was uneventful and everyone was tired. He softly kissed my knuckles and said sorry for hurting himself because he knew it hurt me too. I'm a total mess. Ocean chuckled when he got out of my bathroom in his boxers. Tiny beads of water droplets clinging to his smooth skin. But you're my mess. I smiled, shifting to make room for him to join me in bed. We were both exhausted and had a silent understanding of not mentioning what happened in that castle. However, we both knew. We had to face the truth at some point and find out more about it. She could have been lying to in the whole face, but the screaming walls said otherwise. I was so confused and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. By the time my mind returned to my room, Ocean was already lying half on me with his head on my shoulder with his arms securely wrapped around my torso, craning my neck. I checked the time, which read 11:53, and turned the bedside lamp off. Ocean. I gingerly traced my fingertips across his relaxed back muscles and his tired voice never failed to send chills down my spine. You know we have to talk about it. I started, only to have him grumble and lift himself up with one hand, letting his body merely hovering over me. He opened his mouth to say something, but soon his rage took over and sharp fangs elongated, ripping through his gums. His body crackled slightly, threatening that his wolf will soon take over. His cheekbones underneath his tight skin started to crumble, forming a wave of liquid bones trying to reform itself into his black wolf. Without thinking, I gently traced my fingertips over his molding face, feeling the under his smooth. He tilted his head back, allowing his wolf to calm down. His features solidified and returned to normal soon after. You'll be the death of me, he whispered out, getting back to his original position. Chuckling, I replied, we need to figure things out. We need to find out more. Tomorrow, he stated, holding me tighter in his arms. I always knew Ocean had a short temper, but I never knew I had full control over it. Every time his wolf would threaten to rise to surface, all I had to do was allow my skin to touch his skin, and even the smallest contact calmed him down instantly. My heart physically started to hurt while thinking about how we were technically mated. All I had to do was wait for my wolf to mature and the process to be completed. Baby girl, me, Isa and Jace are going to go to the castle now to see if we can find some information or not. Also, we've already spoke to Miss Delano and cleared it with her. He clarified. But you're leaving me. I pouted, leaning into him, like spoiled little girl. Sorry, baby girl. I know you're scared about this and I don't want to waste time. He brushed a couple of strands of hair away from my face and tucked it behind my ear. She might be lying, but what if she is telling the truth? The paintings and that ancient photo she had threw me off. You'll be back soon, okay? He cupped my face and rested his forehead on mine. I was a huge fan of PDA, but I honestly didn't care being intimate in the middle of the school field. It felt like every second I got from now was precious. I wanted to share every moment with him because deep down, what Elina said terrified me. We needed answers. We needed to know if she was telling the truth before I lost my mind. Even if it was just a prank or a lie, I was going to just let it go. I had to take precautions for both of our safety. I want to spend the rest of my life with this. Scared me to death to think there might be some chances that not happening anymore. Why don't you and Lee go to the library and check some books out? See if you find anything. He moved his hands to my hips. Chess not really talking to me, I confess, making him jolt back quickly. What? Why, he asked, confused out of his mind. Well, I don't think what happened yesterday sat too well with her. I explained, making him annoyed slightly. But she's supposed to be your friend. I don't understand. He brought me even closer to him. It doesn't matter, I reassured him. Okay. I'll drop him off before I go. Thanks, babe. Shaking my head, I kissed him slowly, and every trouble I had vanished in an instant. Although Ocean was reluctant on leaving me here alone, I knew he had to go for a better purpose. We could either wait for a disaster to strike or do something about it. That night, my parents and I ended up at Ocean's home. We didn't tell our parents about what we found out, but they didn't understand why we could feel each other's emotions. I made my way to his room because I had to give him his late birthday present. What are you doing? I asked, distracting Ocean from all the paperwork he had spread all over his desk. They were the scrolls we saw at the castle. Looking at these evidences, I don't think she was lying, Naya. His gaze was fixated on the papers. Why is your room so empty? I usually stay at yours, so I didn't see the point of decorating. I knew he was serious, but I was too drained to comment on it. Instead of commenting on his findings, I got the small vintage box out from my bag and I made my way over to him. He was still occupied by the papers and paintings. "Happy late birthday, baby." I stretched the string over his head and placed the pendant around his neck with a kiss before walking back to his bed. "Wait." He shot up from his seat, surprised by my present. He held the pendant in his hand and he started at me with glassy eyes. "The chain thingy is made of spandex, so you don't have to take it off when you shift." I informed him. "You didn't have to." He stretched out the material to get a better glimpse of the pendant. The pendant was in shape of the sun with rays coming out in waves while the Greek alpha symbol was indented in the middle. Alphas were usually associated with lunas. Modern pacts didn't use the ed anymore. Females were given equal status due to human involvement. The term Luna derived from when soul beings directly spoke with the earth spirits, especially under full moon, when the veil between the spirit world and the human world was at its thinnest. Many mistook it for the moon goddess, but she was in charge of the night, not us. Why? He asked, joining me in his bed. "What? Can't a girl give her man a birthday present?" I rolled my eyes. "I bought it before you turned 18. I thought I'd give it to you before you found your mate. You deserve it." Getting up on my knees, I pulled him close to me. The thick black material sat perfectly around his neck, framed by his broad shoulders. He was so handsome. I cowled and contained the butterflies in my stomach. "God, I love you so much." Instead of telling him I loved him too, I showed him how much with my actions. 19 Journal. May as POV Red Mount 1990. What's Lee doing here? My mom asked as my dad pulled up in our driveway. I was shocked myself because I thought she didn't want anything to do with the craziness. "What are you doing here?" I asked in astonishment after getting out of the car. She was sitting on our front porch with a poncho wrapped around shoulders. She looked like she hadn't slept since the trip, and I cowled and helped but blamed myself for that. "I need to talk to you." "How did you get that?" I gasped when I noticed she was holding Elina's worn-out journal. "That's what I need to talk to you about." Her whole body kept jittering like she was running on caffeine. "What?" "Wait, are you okay?" I asked in concern, moving forward to engulf her in a hug. I'm fine. I need to talk to you." She pulled away quickly, dragging me towards the shadows of our front porch. "Hey, honey, what are you doing here?" My mom cooed from behind while my dad disappeared into the garage. "I just wanted to talk to her. That's all." She threw a fake smile towards my mother. "You want to come in?" I asked hesitantly. "Yeah, definitely." Before she could finish her sentence, she grabbed me by my wrist and pulled up the stairs to my room. "So tell me how you got that," I asked. "I stole it." She breathed out, clutching onto the journal with her dear life, earning an involuntary gasp from me. However, I stayed quiet. Well, I honestly didn't mean to make you feel like I was avoiding you, but I just can't lose my best friend." Her eyes coated with fearful tears, threatening to fall any minute. I thought if I could figure out what's in it, but it's helpless and I haven't finished yet. "Well, we don't know if we can trust Elina," I reminded her. "Yeah, I think she's telling the truth." In the journal she wrote down specific events that happened in history that no one knows how it happened, and some of the main names are missing. If you add her events and actual history together, it fits perfectly. How? I exclaimed, still not accepting her bullshit. "Because I witnessed it." Startled, I backed away from her. "You want to know why you felt him shift even before you knew he was your mate? Because you've been together since the beginning of time. You grew up together and your souls realized it. That's why you didn't need your wolf to mature to feel everything he did." I wanted to cry because she was spot on. Yes, we grew up together, but so did quite a few other mates, but they didn't recognize each other until one of them met Yord. I gulped in fear. Our parents were trying to figure out why, and the answer was right there in front of us, and we didn't want to believe it. I took deep breaths, trying to calm myself. Their Ocean, truly, was a hybrid who's been after Ocean and for centuries. What do we do now? I heaved out a frustrated sigh. The only person we can contact is Elina. We need to tell her that you two always felt each other's emotions. I'm not sure she's good or bad, but she's the only lead we have. She closed the journal and stood up, indicating it was time for her to go. Sighing, I realized she looked tired, out of her mind. You should get some rest tonight. We know it's a lot to take in, but we need your brain. I chuckled. Not the tired one you have right now. The rage-generated one. She rolled her eyes, giving me a half laugh. I'll sleep, but before I'll make a list of things I know. Gosh, you and Ocean are going crazy. I tell you. I flung myself on my bed, trying to forget about the situation. However, my childish behavior didn't faze her. Naya, she exhaled with a broken voice. Aren't you scared? She choked on her words within her concern made my own throat constrict with tears forming in my eyes. However, I still managed to smile through the pain because a small part of me believed that it was all a huge prank or a bad dream and everything when I woke up tomorrow. Not when I'm with my friends. You guys make everything worth it. She engulfed me in a tight, comforting hug. For the first time since I discovered my fate, I hadn't had the time to process everything together. Look. We will figure this out. Okay. She stood up again, quickly wiping the tears away from her cheeks. I'm off now. Get some rest, Naya. I'll see you tomorrow. She glanced back for a semi-second with worried eyes before exiting the house with heightened speed. I hated being alone. Hated thinking about what Elina informed us about. All I wanted to do was live a normal life with my mate. It seemed unfair that the Darkling was after us for something our souls did centuries ago. Being a werewolf came with extra strength, but Ocean's weight was really something else. Sometimes, it was too much for me to handle. Especially when he would fall asleep with half of his body on top of mine. When I left his house, he didn't mention anything about coming over. Neither did I feel him getting into bed with me. One thing I always hate was showing weakness, especially during training. If someone accidentally broke a bone of mine, never once did I screech in pain. It would always be Ocean who'd scream and try to stop my training because he would always feel it and knew I was suffering. Slowly, I tried to get out of his grasp without trying to wake him up, but recently, even from the slightest movement, he'd jolt up and alert and pull me closer to him. Possessive lie. Where are you going? His lips were half sealed and one eye slightly cracked open. I need to pee. Move. I shoved his hand off my body and strode towards my suit while he chuckled and sat up on bed rubbing the sleep off his eyes. 19.5 Reminiscence Naya's pee. OV Red Mount Night 90 I don't want to go school. I walked out with nothing but a white towel wrapped around my body after a long warm shower. Me neither. His gaze was fixated towards the ceiling with both of his bare arms behind his head, emphasizing his toned muscles. The comforter had slightly fallen, barely covering his toned body, and I wanted to jump his bones right then and there. What do you want for breakfast? I sat in front of my large dressing table while I massaged a peach-scented lotion all over my exposed legs. You dude. I didn't need to turn around to see the sly little smirk dancing on his face. Vampire deception. By Dwight Mason and E.Y. Gwett. As an undocumented changeling, I'm forced to cause the low-level witch. He sat up straight in my bed, allowing his reflection to appear on the mirror. Seriously, Ocean. I rolled my eyes at him. What time did you sleep? It must have been really late. About 4 in the morning. He smiled. Remember when you locked me out because we got into an argument? I laughed, remembering back to what he was talking about. And you stayed out there all night. Stubborn bastard didn't even think about going home. After brushing my hair, I walked over towards my wardrobe. First, I was home. You just locked me out, and second, I was angry. He froze in the middle of his stretch and turned his body towards me. You're the stubborn one. I told you I would come, and just because I was late you locked me out. He shoved my comforter off himself, revealing his black Calvin Klein boxers getting off the bed. I was confused. I turned my back on him, putting on underwear before shrugging off my towel. It dropped on the floor, giving Ocean a clear view of my back, and I lazily picked out a bra. I loved teasing him. It drove him crazy. About what? I told you I would come, but parents were still awake. Helping the new family. He walked up behind me and hooked the back of the bra together. He was such a gentleman sometimes, but usually he was disgusting pig. I told you, I don't like people disturbing my sleep. I replied, shoving a blue shirt over my head. But that's not it, is it? I know I woke you up and you looked like you were about to murder me, but you were crying as well and you never told me why. The playfulness from his voice disappeared, replaced by a serious, concerned tone. That's not the point. I swerved past him, but he quickly caught my arm before I could escape. Tell me, he insisted. Well, it was just a couple of days after. We just, were together for the first time. I picked up the towels and threw them inside my bathroom. And the new girl, with the new family, she was worshipping you. I over-exaggerated, and even thinking about the way she was looking at him and how he was helping her out with school advice made my heart hurt. I knew it was innocent and it was his duty, but she was beautiful. The way he was smiling at her didn't sit too well with me. In the future, Alpha, it's my duty to help them. He smiled at me like I was a fool. No, I was so confused. Everything happened so fast I didn't know if it was a one-night stand or... Don't you dare fucking say that. His large hand forcefully gripped my chin with his finger. He pushed my cheeks together, making my lips pout up like a fish. I loved you since I couldn't even pronounce your name properly or even know what love meant. You were always the one for me, Naya. Slowly he released me from his firm and I stumbled back a little. I didn't know that back then. I mean, come on. We weren't the best of friends back then. I reminded him, making my way towards the door. I know, but it always chose you. Even if we were humans, it always chose you. He smiled, waking backwards towards my ensuit. Yeah, I gathered that when you threatened to kill my mate. I recalled, making his smile even bigger. I was kidding, I was going crazy. All I wanted was you, and when I finally had you, I screwed everything up and then you ran away. God, I thought I was going to die. He leaned back against the maroon-painted door frame, rubbing his face with both of his hands. We made it this far, well, make it what is to come. I chuckled lightly. It'll make you some bacon and eggs. Boy, he could eat. I love you, he shouted out as I simultaneously walked out of my room. I couldn't keep the giddy smile off my face that he never failed create. Can you fuckers be any louder? I heard Ocean yell when my consciousness started to return slowly. We both ended up falling asleep after we had breakfast, an hour's worth of mind-blowing sex. His hand was covering my exposed ear, trying to drown out the absurd noise of clinking glasses and drawers shutting. Groaning, I buried my head further in his chest, hoping everyone will disappear soon. I could hear Isaiah and Jace open and shut the cupboard doors in the kitchen like they were hunting for treasures. I knew I had to get up because they spoke to Miss Delano and they were bound to have Elina's contact number. Safe or not, it was time for us to make a move before it was too late. Rubbing my face, I sat up straight with Ocean massaging my back. Sorry, baby girl. His voice was tick-like oated with sleep, and I was the only one they disturbed. Mumbling something incoherent under my breath, I went to the bathroom downstairs to freshen up. I could still hear Ocean scolding them for being loud, but it wasn't a big deal. Despite of feeling refreshed, I felt even more tired for some reason, and Lee deserved an award for surviving on lack of sleep and still had the ability to get the job done. So, I made a list last night about the facts we know and the people we know, and this other. Lee pointed towards her other notepad that was lying on the coffee table. List as questions we need answers to. You need a hobby. Elina leaned back on the sofa, throwing some toffee popcorn in his mouth. Shut up. She threw him a dirty look before returning her focus back to the initial problem. So we figured out that she might be telling the truth because you'd have a connection. Always had a connection. She took over the conversation. Here's her number. She handed Ocean the card. You'll call it. He picked up the large white phone resting on side table, and before he could press the numbers, Lee interrupted. Why don't I call? Did you stole her journal? She'll probably want to kill you. I rolled his eyes at her. On instincts. I reached forward and slapped his arm in Lee's defense. Fine. He handed Lee the phone and the card. Here goes. She pressed in the digits quickly. My heart sped up along with every onus in the room, listening to the dragged-out blaring noise of the phone ringing once, twice, then finally. Hello. The faint voice resembled Elina's. Hey Rem. It's. Surprisingly for the first time ever. Lee was speechless while talking to someone. Lee. I was hoping you'd contact me. She sounded relieved. I knew you would take the journal and believe that I was telling the truth. We could hear the smile in her voice as she spoke. So what now? I asked. We should meet, was her reply. 20 Cloak May as POV Redmount 1990. I finally found a witch who's willing to do a spell that can cloak you guys from the Darkling. It's a simple blood ritual. It will cloak you from the spirit world so he can't find you. You can carry on living your life. We asked her meet us on neutral ground. The city was the best place. Redmount had a huge mall right in the center. We arrived at 5 to find Elina keenly waiting for us. After making small talks, we jumped straight into the real reason why we agreed to meet her. You can do that. Sorrent's witches. They might not be as strong as the ones who sealed the castle gates, but they still have cloaking powers. She handed a couple of stained yellow papers with scribbles on it. That's why the Darkling has a hard time finding them often. That's why not everyone from the ancient clan is dead. I don't think we have witches here. We knew vampires resided in Pavilion up north, but other than that, we assumed werewolves were the only ones who lived in Redmount. Tuscan. There are still a handful of witches who lives there. Under heavy protection. Just like the castle. She explained. There were many creatures living in Tuscan that no one knew about in like Redmount. I want to do this before my birthday. I want to get this over and done with so he can't find us. How does he find us? I'm not one sure, but I know that if witches aren't cloaked, he can find them also. So if you are, then he can't find you. Like he can't find the castle. So you're saying with a talisman or cloaking spell, he physically won't be able to see us? Lee asked. Yes, he could walk right past you but won't feel your aura. It happened with some witches and they are still alive. He is powerful, but I don't think he has spells and potions like the witches. My head was throbbing from all this information. I wanted nothing to do with the Darkling. I didn't even know the motherfucker. So when can we meet this witch? I asked. I need her to come here. I don't want go to Tuscan again. It took us hours to get there and back the second time. Also, Naya isn't feeling too well, which is totally my fault. So try she doesn't like sights. Elina countered. There's a whole forest between Redmount and Darkwood. She can meet us at the edge of it. Ocean's grandfather was close to the former Alpha of Darkwood. His son, Marcus Devereaux, took over recently. I can do that. I'll coordinate with her and take you guys there. She's putting her papers back in her bag. Yes, let us know and we'll be there. Ocean took my hand in his and held it tightly, and I doubted he had any intention of letting it go anytime soon. It was dark by the time Elina arrived. A week had gone by and I was getting even more anxious. I wanted no meet this witch. I had to believe that the witches were on our side because their ancestor helped us kill this Darkling as beloved. I wondered if they were mates, but mates were given to us after. Do you realize? If all this is true, we chose to love each other without mating bond. I pointed out. Ocean, Elina and I walked further into the forest. The perfect full moon illuminated our surroundings. With a sexy piece of ass like that. I wonder why. He laughed when I playfully slapped his arm. The fact that he still had a sense of humor was comforting. His grip on my hand never faltered. I told you before all these crazy things happened. I'll always choose you. Elina walked ahead of us, pretending to not hear our conversation. Do you remember when we were about 7 and I went to feed you cake and smothered your face with the damn piece? I knew he was trying to get my racing heart to slow down by bringing up old memories. I was so sure you did it on purpose. Who the fuck trips over their own foot? Do you know how mad I was at myself for making you cry on your damn princess birthday? I finally laughed. He had a good memory. He ruined my perfect fluffy pink dress into tiara. And then you give me a blue or purple orchids to make it up. Which? Of course. Had to be hiding in there somewhere, and it's tongue me. He threw his head back and laughed. His voice was comforting. So I leaned into him. Grandpops always knew you were mine. I adored his grandpop. He was the only gentle alpha I had ever met. He was exceptionally smart, and I think his knowledge humbled him instead of making him a tyrant. A very earthy scent hit my senses. We kept going, following our senses when we finally came upon a small clearing. There was a massive dead tree trunk near where she was standing. She looked nervous and twitchy. Never a good combination for a powerful witch. I'd never met a witch before in my life, so I didn't know what exactly I was expecting from her. I honestly was kicking myself for trusting this stranger, but it made sense to why we'd feel each other's emotion. If we didn't, there's no way I would have believed her. This is Shea. Her ancestors were a part of the ancient Tiskin clan. 20.5 Ranayasp. OV. Red Mount 1990. The temperature around us dropped. A chill in the air aroused the hairs on my arms. I shivered, surprised by the coldness that touched me. I've heard about the Darkling coming after you guys too. My ancestors have used the cloaking spell since centuries. It's a simple blood ritual. There was a small pile of dried twigs and branches, set up neatly near the middle of the clearing. She snapped her fingers at the pile. Fire ignited from thin air with a growl. Whoa. Ocean shielded me with his body. It's a blood ritual, so I will need you to that yourself. She handed Elina a knife. Ocean protested relentlessly, but at the end our protection won over. We could figure out everything later once we were cloaked. She'd have right into her chant. She said needed the moon at its highest to channel the spirits. We scored our palms and dropped a couple of drops of blood on the burning fire as instructed. We healed quickly and waited for her to finish. The fire burned blue when our beads of blood douched the flames. She chanted in a foreign language, words from ancient civilization. The air around us thickened. Fog emerged from the roots of the trees. Moonlight highlighted the gray waves. There was something lurking behind the shadows that had no scent. My eyes picked up a figure, but for some reason, I cowled and get a scent of it. The figure started to move. I stepped back, startling Shea. Who's that? Shea didn't stop chanting. She looked flustered, and I was having a hard time breathing. Gulping, I started to back away. Ocean, on the other hand, knocked out the bowl out of her hand, and the blue flames returned to Reed. What did you do? It's not going to work now. She shrieked. What's wrong? Elina didn't have heightened senses like we did, so she cowled and see the figure. My breathing turned back to normal. Ocean was outraged. He thought Elina betrayed us. We need to go. I grabbed Ocean and Belindi back towards where we came from. Suddenly we became airborne. I was thrown across the clearing against a tree. My body collided with a tree and a loud screech tore through my vocal cord. Ocean, on the other hand, was thrown into a ring of fire that was there before. Run, that's the Darkling. Elina finally saw the perpetrator. She became airborne. Her green luminescence wings cut through the air and towards Ocean. I cowled and move. My legs were bent backwards, and I cowled and move. I cowled and feel anything because my body was in shock. Ocean. I tried to crawl towards my hen. He was suffocating. That bastard did something to him. I watched in horror when an invisible force shoved her into the fire. Her beautiful wings caught fire. Green flames and sparks spurted through the air. Blood-curdling screams split through the air. A mystified ball of air appeared in her hand before she threw it at the Darkling direction. He was wearing a dark cloak with a hood hiding his face. My bones tried to reconstruct itself back to place. I used my forearms to crawl towards the fire. Pain choked me, cutting away my air supply. Ocean. I pleaded. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. He withered in pain, reaching out for me, but the fire blocked us. I screamed. An image flashed through my mind of him burning, and that exact same figure flashed through my mind. Tears sprang from my eyes when blood started pouring out from his lips. He tried to roll towards me, but the fire barricade stopped him. I remembered the old tale about the moon and the spirits. Deliberately, I put my hand on the ring of fire. Pain triggered the healing process. It scorched my skin with such intensity that I screamed until my lungs gave out, but my legs were popping back in place quicker. I turned to see the witch bleeding on the ground and Elina with her burnt wings fighting with the Darkling. They both had the same air power. That bastard was half Fi. I looked at the moon and imagined the thin veil. The spirits. I didn't know how to communicate the great ones, but I knew if I didn't try, Ocean would die. I couldn't let that happen, even if it meant I had to give my life. The burnt flesh took some time to regenerate. I stood on shaky legs and stepped into the line of fire, calling out to the spirits. Airworld me stopped. The flames held their pointed peaks. A gliding figure appeared before me. Green tendrils of flowing smoke surrounded the ethereal being. Everything was too bright. A floating face loosely formed in front of me. Lips, nose, and white hollow eyes. Her hair were green tendrils of smoke. My child, you must defeat him. You must finish him. A voice spoke in a frenzy. I turned to find the Darkling breaking through the time vacuum. Elina, Ocean, the fire and the air stood still. Only the Darkling twitched, moved in slow motion, breaking the spell that we all were in. HS becoming more powerful. He can't pass through. Remember, you can't trust anyone. I landed on the ground with a soft thud. The headfire gone off. A loud inhale from Ocean distracted me from the Darkling, letting out a gurgling scream. All my injuries were healed. So were Ocean's. He grabbed my arm and dragged me back. We have to go NOO. A disgusting scream emanated from the Darkling. Run, Elina was weakening. I wanted to help her. I'm sorry. I didn't know. He kept throwing balls of air towards the Darkling. You'll get her back. Doesn't matter how many lives it takes. You'll get her back. Using our heightened speed. We ran. We went back there the next day to find Elina's bloody body with burnt wings. She gave her life for hours and we let her. Shame filled me. Ocean told me there was nothing we could have done. So we buried her body by the large tree. We should have saved her. We should have done something about it. The vehemence in my voice startled Ocean. There is nothing we could have done. She trusted the wrong witch. He tried to comfort me, but I didn't want to feel better. I wished I knew her better. She seemed to have truly cared for the Ocean and me as she knew, and we treated her like an enemy. Months had passed. My birthday had finally arrived. Neither of us ever told anyone about that night. Truth be told, we didn't know what to tell people. How to explain it to them. We didn't even know what she meant by he can't pass through. We understood that the Darkling was the he, but pass through what? We also understood that when he shouted, "He'll get her back," he meant his only love. But he was a pure psychopath. What did he know about love? We should do something special. My head was resting on Ocean's chest. I'm not in the mood. I couldn't let go of the guilt. You're turning 18, baby. Ocean put my head on my pillow, pushing my back against the mattress. I know what happened and what we did were wrong. I hate seeing me like this. He meant my catatonic state of lack of sleep and appetite. He covered me with his body and rested his head on my bare chest. I can't believe you spoke to the Earth Spirit. He mumbled. I know, but what I don't understand is how he expects to being someone dead back to life. He lost his mate, and neither did their soul go to the spirit realm after death. I didn't believe it was love, but Ocean did. Because he said he would have done the same thing if it were me who was taken away from him. Get plain and simple revenge. Wait. Ocean shot up, his eyes dancing with epiphany. What if he thinks his mate is in the spirit realm and HES using us to bring her back? Burn the ASP. OV Red Mount 1990. I sat up, marveled by the sudden theory. It made sense. Like he was trying to reach inside with his hand. It's a plausible theory, but a crazy theory at best. I mean, they don't even go to the spirit realm. I argued. I doubt he knows. He questioned. We have the closest connection with the spirit world. They bring us back every couple of centuries, still by getting us to communicate with the spirit at our dying moment. It would create the veil when the spirit is trying to save us. I spoke out loud. Then, he can somehow manage to get into the spirit world. He finished off. We didn't know how it was possible to access the spirit world. We didn't even know one who was living could cross over. Have you heard of a creature who can pass over without dying? I wondered. No, he sighed. We returned to our previous position. A lot of history, our supernatural ancestors had been wiped away by the humans. I'm sure if someone did know, it would take us years to find him or her. He was right. We needed time, and that's the thing we didn't have. Do you think if we remember all the lives we lived, we'd find a way to defeat him? I asked, stroking his prickly hairs on his head. I think so, but that would mean the spirits are close by because they are providing us with this information. Too much spirit activity will draw his attention. Don't know how, but he'll know where we are, he concluded. It was a perfect theory as to why the spirits never full-on provided us with all the memories. How do you think he managed to do that? How can he feel the spirits? Could he find a way in? I added two and together. How do you think he managed to find a way to do that? He wondered. HES not controlled by the laws of the spirits. HES a hybrid. His powers don't follow the natural protocols. I explained. We'd been trying to connect the dots. Figure out as much as we could. Well, figure out a way to stop him. Don't worry. Deep down I knew we couldn't stop him because we didn't have enough information. We didn't even know what his other half of power was. Neither did we know what happened to the dead witch. I doubted she was doing a cloaking spell. Her body was there when we went back for Elina. The dark sky growled angrily, casting bolts of lightnings to sear the grounds. We both were desperate for each other and took whatever we could from each other greedily that night. Passionate kisses, heartfelt laugh, mind-blowing sex, whatever it was. We didn't take them for granted. For some reason, ears stung my eyes. My window was shut and we kept it that way since the event in the forest. Ocean, in our next life, will be okay. Right. I cupped his cheek. He didn't have any soothing words for me. I'll do everything in my power to fix it. He'll be a better alpha next time. I promise. Happy birthday, baby. And this time, no smothering the cake in your face. He held up the triangular piece of chocolate cake to my lips. I took a bite and turned it around so he could take a one as well. When I recognized Ocean as my mate at midnight, I bit him. I didn't wait. He was proud of that mark, even though it was raw and uncomfortable. Nothing had happened yet. I initially thought we'd come under attack, but we were still free. But we didn't know for how long. I hated uncertainty. The anticipation of waiting for something to happen sucked the energy out of me. I hated it. The anxiety clawing at my throat. The constant worry of the next shoe to drop. I couldn't bear it anymore. However, Ocean being so supportive made the excruciating wait much more bearable. Sighing, I leaned into him only to be disturbed by Lee. Naya, can I talk to you? Lee pulled me aside. Are you mad at me or did I do something wrong? No, honey. The cloaking spell didn't work, so we don't know what's going to happen. I guess that's why we're spending so much time together. I wanted to tell her the truth, but the spirit's voice nagged at me. Lee was like a sister to me. I should have told her, but instead I stuffed her face with cake. Surprisingly, Ocean didn't ruin my birthday this time around. Instead, he gave me blue orchids with purple veins. They were perfect and from his grandpop's garden. When I made the snarky remark about not ruining my birthday, he laughed and graced me with a soul-melting kiss. My mother pulled me aside after majority of the people left. I'm so proud of you. You've grown to be such an amazing person. I took in her heartfelt words with hollowness. I never cared much for her even though she was my mother. I'm sorry that I wasn't here for you. I don't know what happened. I didn't want to talk to her. I felt restless, like something was burning me from inside. My mouth felt dry and water couldn't quench its thirst. Naya. It was the first time ever I heard Jace raise his voice. I ran into the lounge to find Ocean turning blue. His eyes widened, skin pale blue, and his lips. Silver was dripping down from the side. My world collapsed. Knees buckled from under me. I screamed, ignoring my own burning sensation. He was my entire focus. I knew it was bound to happen, but I didn't expect to feel so helpless. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I heaved as tears slid down my face. When I reached him, we both collapsed, hitting the ground with full force. My inside was burning, ripping apart in two. I managed to maneuver his head on my lap while he lay twitching on the ground. His head was on my lap, His chest shook under my palm. I knew exactly what he was feeling. He couldn't breathe. People surrounded us, tugging and speaking, but I drowned them out. The burning sensation inside me doubled and my hands shook as they stroked his face. Silver was in me too. Don't trust anyone. I remembered the spirit's warning. My heart burned and I watched him wither in my arms. He was the love of my life and will be forever. Next time we weren't going down without a fight. I love you. I'll meet you soon. Just hold on for me. My breath hitched and breathing became harder. People were tugging at him and me trying to aid us, keep us alive. But we knew this was it. His lips moved but no words came out. His forehead crunched. I hunched over him, holding on to him with dear life. Naya was all he could say before his eyes turned gray and his pain stopped. My world shattered at that moment. My mate was dead. The love of my life, since eternity, was dead. I felt it, physically. The excruciating pain of not feeling him anymore overpowered the silver in me. An ear-piercing scream from me stunned everyone who were crouching around us. I didn't fight the silver and felt no pain when his presence left mine. I had no purpose without him, so I gave in to the silver. The venom spreading through my bloodstreams burned its way through every inch of my body, resting my head on my dead mate's still chest. I withered, like he didn't till my breathing stilled. I felt myself float up into the darkness and watched the scenery play out in bewilderment. Lee stood off to the side, biting on her nails, anxiously waiting while everyone else were screaming and shouting. Jace, the future alpha now, looked helpless and broken beyond repair. Even my parents shed some tears, but not Lee. She seemed elated. A familiar hand touched my shoulder. This touch was different. My body felt different because it wasn't in a solid form. I was floating on air, but the place felt familiar, and so did his arms. All we had to do was wait for our next chance and our next life.